Packer and Durham, the Power Hour is upon us on a Friday morning. Of course, we're streaming live on the ESPN app. You've got us on SiriusXM Channel 371. You can always partake by jumping on board at 844-SAY-ACCN. And again, A-list guests up and down the lineup today. And we're now going to be joined by the head basketball coach down there in beautiful Coral Gables. Jim Larrañaga joins us. And we'll see how Coach is doing. There he is. Coach, good morning. How are you?
Hey, good morning, guys. I'm doing fine. Wearing my mask every day.
Well, it's good because we had mentioned earlier that one of your Patriots over there, Manny Diaz, tested positive today. I don't know if you heard that news, but we wish him the very best and a speedy recovery.
About it.
Yeah, so again, you know, COVID doesn't care, as you well know, and this is going to be quite a challenge from a basketball perspective. It already has been tough for football, but we've kind of grinded through it and hopefully can get to the finish line. We hope to get to that starting point, which I know has been kind of a hit and miss with you guys already with one cancellation and flip-flopping dates and all that kind of stuff. So, listen, this is going to be a tricky operation, but I think we're all kind of excited to get started.
Yeah, well, before they made the announcements about starting the college basketball season on November the 25th, we had 7 games between November 10th and November 25th. So Adam Fisher, who's my assistant coach, who's the person delegated to work on the schedule, we had to revamp our entire schedule. And I was adamant that we should not be traveling because I was just so fearful that if we traveled, no matter how you travel, I was fearful that someone on the team would get COVID and we'd be shut down.
Jimmy, is it the singular thing now that comes to the front of mind when you start thinking about this season is how you can stay safe and stay healthy from the virus?
Absolutely. You know, if one player gets sick because of contact tracing, it could shut down your whole team. And, you know, once you shut down your whole team, so many things come into play. You know, how many days do you have to then quarantine? How sick are each individual that had coronavirus? And then what do you do when you come back? How much do you get a chance to practice and get back in shape before you play your next game? So our football team is going through it right now. I got my fingers crossed that our basketball team won't have to go through it. But I think the chances of that are very slim.
I know one thing that at least brings some comfort is knowing that, hey, Chris Likes is back wearing a Miami jersey. Because let me tell you something, as you well know, when you've got terrific backcourt players, life becomes a little bit easier for you. Now, granted, you got to stay healthy. It's always going to be a key. But, my gosh, Chris Likes can play for anybody in the country, and you guys are still lucky to have him. He is some kind of player.
Chris Likes is a dynamo. He's a high-octane scorer, a very entertaining player, very acrobatic. He can shoot the three from very long range. He's got an assortment of layups and pull-up jump shots that really make him hard to guard. But he's not alone. We've got a very good, experienced backcourt with Cam Auguste, Isaiah Wong, and Harlan Beverly joining them, plus our freshman standout of Earl Timberlake. So we have 5 guards. If they can all stay healthy, we can have a very good backcourt.
The conversations all start with the backcourt coach, but I know it seems like you got to be excited about some of the inventory you've got in the front court too. I mean, I know Rodney Miller's back. Nasir Brooks is eligible now. Speak to a little bit about that development because I think that's also an important piece of where your team might be this year.
Yeah, a few weeks ago, I was really confident because Nasir Brooks and Rodney Miller at the 5, Sam Wardenberg, Anthony Walker, a sophomore now, and Matt Cross at the 4, and then Ed Dengak. He can play both positions. So we were looking awfully good. And then all of a sudden, Sam Wardenberg goes down. It seemed to me, I saw the injury. He just twisted his foot he stepped on someone's foot. He ends up having surgery and he's out for the season. He's our most experienced front court player, our best defensive front court player. our leading rebounding front court player, and he's now out for the year. So other guys are going to have to step up to fill his shoes. Then Anthony Walker, a week later, sprained his knee and has missed 4 weeks of practice. Thank goodness Anthony is back now and looks very good. I think he'll have a good sophomore year, but he's still very, very inexperienced.
Coach, walk us through a practice now during this pandemic. I mean, what totally has to change in terms of what you try to accomplish at a singular practice, whether it be a Tuesday afternoon or whatever the case may be? What's that like now?
Well, the very first thing you'll notice is how the practice facility is set up. If you walked into our practice facility, you would see all the chairs. Normally, we don't have any chairs for the players. Now we've got 13 players. We've got like 15 chairs set up with everybody's name on it. Everybody must sit at their own chair. At every chair, there is their fluid so that they can drink water and Gatorade during the course of a practice. It has their name on the chair so they don't sit at anybody else's chair. They're separated by at least 10 feet so that nobody's really sitting next to each other. And every player and coach that walks into the practice facility has a mask on. While the players are on the court, they can remove their mask, but the coaches have their masks on 100% of the time. In addition to that, we've established our rules, and this is kind of interesting. When we started back in July, we did not do a single drill that included offense and defense. We didn't want any face-to-face competition. So when we were working on offense, it was just offense only, skills, shooting. On defense, it was without a ball. It was just working on your foot slides and really just individual defense. So, and then a practice now, as the season approaches, looks much more like it did in years past.
I hate to say this, but you've been around this game long enough that this adjustment for you might have been somewhat different, but it's not too drastically different from coaching basketball, right? I mean, yeah, you've had to do chairs, fluids, all those type things, but I can envision Jim Larrañaga liking teaching defense without a basketball, that kind of thing. I can envision that. I don't see that being much of a stretch at all for you.
Well, it's interesting you say that because what ends up happening is we do that and have done that in the past in every season. The only difference is the length of time. So initially, we start out offense and defense without basketballs, and then introduce the basketballs after maybe 3 or 4 days. This time it was after like 4 or 6 weeks.
How about that? Coach K mentioned yesterday he thinks it's going to be really, really difficult to have one centralized location for the NCAA tournament. And I know everybody's worried about getting started, but it really is going to be critical for college basketball to have a conclusion, which we did not have last season. Do you agree or disagree with Kay's position about the one centralized location and the difficulty it will be having multiple teams show up?
This whole season is going to be difficult. There's going to be cancellations. There's going to be games that everybody's looking forward to, and then all of a sudden there is no game. It gets canceled. How many games we're actually going to be able to play of the 25? And some teams are playing 27 because of an exempt event. I'm very concerned. We were scheduled to be in an exempt event in the Cayman Islands, and then they had to move it, and then the dates didn't work for us, so we're not playing in an exempt event because it just didn't work for our schedule. But I also felt like those are going to be the most dangerous events in terms of spreading COVID. So I'd be very concerned about bringing a group of teams together in one location. So if you do that in the NCAA tournament, who knows what's going to happen?
Final thing from me. When Virginia was picked to win the ACC in the preseason by the blue ribbon panel. It marked the first time since 1982 that the Cavaliers had been picked to win the ACC in the preseason. That Virginia team featured a dapperly attired assistant who looked dashing on Terry Holland's bench. No, it did not. Yes, yeah. Well, no, I wasn't thinking of him, Coach. I was thinking, and I wasn't thinking of Little Page either. By the way, just for the record, all right. I was thinking of Larrañaga. I mean, 82. Craig Robinson, Othell Wilson, Ralph Sampson, Jim Miller. I mean, when that happened, did you kind of have that quick flashback when Virginia was picked first to win the ACC?
Tony Bennett has done an absolutely tremendous job. And it wasn't just last year or being picked preseason number one. The consistency of the Virginia program's performances over the last 10 years since I've been in the league is one of the more impressive things that I've seen. Everybody knows about Duke and Carolina, Syracuse, Louisville. Those programs over the history of college basketball have been tremendous. Terry Holland really got it going at UVA. From 79 to 86 when I was there, Virginia was a team to be reckoned with at the national level. 2 trips to the Final Four. Number one in the country for about 4 of those 7 years, at least in part. And I think Tony Bennett has taken the program even a step further. It was absolutely a shocker in college basketball when Virginia lost to UMBC. One of the most incredible follow-ups to that season is Virginia coming back and winning the national championship.
Yeah.
So you got to give Tony a heck of a lot of credit. He's on his way to the Basketball Hall of Fame, and that'll be a very well-deserved honor.
Coach, listen, it's great seeing you. Again, stay healthy. I know you're working on it and all that great stuff. And we hope we can get cranked up here with this hoop season as well and get a conclusion. But again, thoughts, prayers, all that good stuff to Manny Diaz and everybody down there as well.
Thanks, guys.